founder, Miss Léonie Scott-Matthews, is going to give a rendition of Shaun Traynor's Shakespeare's Last Drink. Here she is. Thank you.
Shakespeare's Last Drink by Shaun Traynor. It was one of those misty April nights, as if the whole sky were waiting. The hedgerow was heavy with bullace and cotswold. Plague hung on every tree's branch and breath. In the bell at Welford, Drayton sipped a glass of Rhenish wine. Johnson was already at the pints. They talked of posterity, the price of folios, anticipated Shakespeare. He'll be here in a minute. But when he came, a change was marked that day in a strange silence. He had visited the grave of his son and recalled the lines of Constance. I have heard you say that we shall see and know our friends in heaven. If that be true, I shall see my boy again. Returning home after a little shopping, he tidied up part of his house and went out for the last time. That night, his friends were veritable halls of mirth. The landlord took some good London teasing, and Shakespeare, drinking little at first, gradually imbibed the spirit of the company. His tankard was handed down to him. It had been washed in unscalded water. In merriment, the chimes at midnight came. On his way home, he fell ill, a touch of dysentery. For a moment, the sky cleared, and there was the moon. He remembered Sydney. With how sad steps, O moon, thou climbest the skies, how silently, and with how wan a face. He smiled, and his thoughts replied, how sweet the moonlight sleeps upon this bank. Here shall we sit, and let the sound of music creep in our ears. But sadly, not with Sydney, he affirmed. He thought of Drayton's lines in Requiem, the widow world of all her joys deprived, and other of his verses. He thought of Taylor, the water poet, Ben's latest protégé, and then involuntarily chanting faint hymns to the cold, fruitless moon. The skies had closed over again. Trying to get home, and there were still some miles to go, he thought of his mad mistress, his withered salad days, and of his will, twice written, once in verse and once in Stratford. To a wife, a second best bed, and to the world, a tempest, an end to revels. Within his mind, he conjured out of air and into thinner air his actors, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, and allowed them to dissolve an insubstantial pageant faded. He felt suddenly frightened, ill and old and tired. In that depression, he buried again and again all that he knew, buried it certain fathoms in the earth, and deeper than did ever plummet sound. Depressed, he drowned his book. To that session of silent and perambulatory thought, he summoned up a remembrance of things past, and with old woes did newly wail his own time's waste. Your monument shall be my gentle verse, which eyes not yet created shall read, and tongues to be your being shall rehearse, when all the breathers of this world are dead. Immortality. On the streets of Stratford, his soft, wet boots hardly woke the sleeping town. Behind him on the path, a breeze had sprung up from up the Cotswolds, bringing with it rain and traces of snow, putting paid finally to the moon. So no one saw a wise swan shift into the darkening reeds. At home, he pondered on whether to light a fire, went to bed damp, wrapped in liniment. A day later, he died. A short local ceremony marked his passing, and from Gerard Johnson's workshop a few months later, a little Latin. Edicio, Pileum, Genio, Socratum, Arti, Moronem, Terra, Tegit, Populus, Maret, Olympus, Habet. Stratford had done with